Howdy there, partner. Let's get comfy and cozy. Anyway, hey guys, welcome back to Vlogmas episode, whatever this is at this point. Today I'm going over my 2025 fitness lessons learned. I'm kind of gonna give you an overview of what this year had in store for me in terms of fitness. Then we're gonna talk about all the things I learned along the way. So yeah, I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited too. Without further ado, let's get into it. What am I going to start with? I think I'm gonna start with the fact that I told myself that I was gonna box, and I did box. Boxing has always been something I was really interested in doing. Literally ever since I was probably, I don't know, 8 or 9. I just never really got into it because they didn't really have classes around me, or maybe I just didn't know about them. I always liked a lot of the boyish sports, so I wanted to box, I wanted to wrestle, I wanted to play football. And I remember I would always play football with the kids in middle school, and the coach was I think he was the gym teacher at that point, and he saw that I would play football every single day before school started, during recess / gym, and after class if we were all getting together before we went home. But that wasn't really in the cards for me then, and I just never got into it after that because going to college, I don't think there was a boxing class option. Okay, this is starting to bug me. When I moved here, I told myself that I was going to be starting fresh. A new city gave me new opportunities, and my hometown didn't really have that many options when it came to things you could do or people you could be around. Diversity, there was none of that. So when I moved here, I was like, you know what? We are going to reinvent ourselves. We're gonna start fresh. I got back into fitness after I've lost a lot of weight. And with that, I told myself that I was going to try different things, put myself out there a little bit more. And one of those things on my bucket list happened to be boxing. Now, I didn't start boxing right off the bat. Like I said, I didn't start until 2024 and I moved here in 21. But everything happens in due time when you're ready. So very grateful that I've had the opportunity to start boxing. Learning how to box was really interesting because I don't like being bad at anything. And when it comes to boxing, it was a brand new thing. My coach was someone new that I wasn't necessarily comfortable with. Then I had to be like, okay, not only am I learning something brand new, I have to also learn a new person, if that makes sense. And then I was like, oh my God, are we gonna get along? Am I gonna like his style of training? I had never had a coach before, so that was also like my first experience as an adult having a coach, trying to guide me and teach me his ways. So my coach is Chris. I'll include his name, his Instagram handle right on the screen here, and I'll also include it in the description below if you wanna check him out. He does offer boxing classes in Chicago, so hit him up if you would love to, because I love having him as a coach, and he's just a cool person to be around. He is super knowledgeable about the sport. So if it's something that you've been interested in trying and just haven't given it a shot, or if you've boxed before but want to get back into it, he's a cool guy. So anyway, boxing has been great for me because it's forced me out of my comfort zone. I was super anxious going into it. Not only, like I mentioned, because I was like, oh my God, it's a brand new thing and I don't know if I'm gonna like this person. I don't like being bad at things. So as I'm learning sometimes, I can be very hard on myself and I just feel really awkward doing it. So while we're working on foot placement, right, I'm like, okay, well, I feel like my feet are uncoordinated and that's why I didn't play soccer. So trying to make sure I was light on my feet after years of not working on like fast twitch muscles. Whereas if you're, for example, running track and doing sprints and hurdles and whatever, you're constantly doing movements that require to be really quick and light on your feet. I have not done that in years. So for boxing, you have to be really light and bouncy on your feet so you can dodge and weave your opponent's punches. My feet were planted. I wasn't going anywhere. So trying to get over that was kind of tricky and mentally like, for me, because I'm just hard on myself, okay? Getting over that initial like, oh my God, you're doing this wrong, you're gonna be judged for it, is really pain in the ass for me. Once we got past that, and I mean, my footwork still needs a lot of work. It was only on the up and up from there. And I was still kind of awkward when I was throwing my punches, and my coach would see that, like he could see that I get frustrated with myself, and he's like, Jasmine, you know the moves. You can throw these punches. Why are you so nervous? And I would always apologize. That was something that I was doing way before I was boxing. Like if something went wrong or I felt like I was disappointing somebody, my first reaction was, I'm sorry. And anytime I would throw the wrong punch, if I would miss a call, a cue, a number, I'm like, I'm sorry, fuck. And he's like, calm down. It's not that deep. And it really isn't that deep. I've been boxing for, I don't know, I've been boxing on and off all year, and I would like to get back into it. The last time I was seriously boxing with my coach was before he left for his own training, because he was trying to get back into boxing professionally. So it has been a minute. I'm really grateful for my experience with boxing, because it has really taught me a lot to not be as hard on myself as I am, because like I had mentioned before, that's just how I was built. That things take time and I have to be patient, because I want to know everything all at once, and sometimes it's really too much. It's like kind of like an overload of my brain, and it stresses me out more. So slowing down, being better at taking feedback, because sometimes, although I know I don't know everything and the person that I'm talking to is a professional and is incredibly knowledgeable in their field, I guess it's more of an ego thing. Like, if I'm choosing this person to be my coach, they know what's best, and I should just shut up and listen. So that's number 3. Number 4 would probably be that things can seem a little bit scary, but taking the risk is definitely worth it. I was always scared to try boxing as an adult, and I kind of put it off for a couple years since moving here, because I just was afraid of looking stupid and not knowing what I was doing. But that's just a part of life. You learn the most when you're uncomfortable. So when I say get the hell out of your own way, I really mean it, and you will grow way faster. Number 5, I'm really trying to think here. As I started counting, I was like, I should come up with 5 lessons. So here we are. Number 5. Never let anyone tell you that you cannot accomplish something when you know in your soul that you can do it. There are always going to be people along the way that'll tell you that you can't do this, that, and the third, and it's really important that you don't listen to them. If you know that you are putting all of who you are and what you stand for into what you do, you are going to eventually accomplish that goal. Now, it might not happen in the 6 months that you originally planned. It might not happen in the first year. But if you're dedicated to it enough and you are very intentional about how you move in order to get there, you will hit that goal. And the people who have been trying to tear you down or tell you that you are not whoever it is that you are trying to be, or who it is that you are, all of what they've said is just going to drown out like noise. And whatever they've told you is going to fade away like a pesky little dream or a fly in the room just buzzing around. You just go. I hurt my own ear doing that shit. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. Yeah, that 5th one, sometimes, man, I don't want to go on a super long tangent, but yeah, sometimes the advice or the feedback that you get, and it's negative, can be from the people who are closest to you, and it can hurt, honestly, but as long as you know that the path you're on is the right one and that you are going to make it, whatever they have to say is just trash. Trash, absolute trash. Don't listen to them. Okay, now let's get into the whole powerlifting thing, because that's what I've done the most this year. And I started powerlifting in March. So I was still boxing at this time, and I figured that I would take my fitness more seriously in terms of, you know, making sure that my form was correct and just trying to lift with a more structured program, because I do better when my programs are programmed and I'm not just walking into the gym with absolutely nothing in mind, because when I do that, I tend to skip days, and I don't like skipping days because I know that the gym helps me a lot mentally and physically, obviously. So I wanted to work on my major lifts, being squat, bench, and deadlift. I was already trying the Candido program. Some of you have probably heard me mention it in some other videos. So I was technically doing the powerlifting thing, but not entirely correctly, and I didn't have a lot of guidance from trainers who were in the gym that I go to, because they focus more on bodybuilding and boxing. So I reached out to my now coach and asked him, hey, what kind of experience do you have? What does training with you look like? If I'm not at your gym, how does that work? Do you help with nutrition and yada, yada, yada? Acquired him in March. Not really acquired him, but you get what I'm trying to say. Started working with him in March, and at first I was gonna say it was kind of an interesting dynamic, but maybe interesting again because I was trying to learn a new person and trying to work on my accepting feedback and being told what to do, because I'm just not a fan of being told what to do. I'm gonna be honest with you. So yeah, I was very open to it though, because I knew for a fact that my deadlift, although it was heavy, I think I was still deadlifting close to 400 something pounds at the time. My form was bad. Like my back bend was terrible. I didn't know how to properly use my legs for driving the weight up, stuff like that. When it came to my squat was horrendous, and I still need a lot of work with my squat, but I knew that I wanted to get my numbers up because for years I've always struggled with anything more than like 205 pounds. And I know that my body is strong enough to handle more weight. I just needed to figure out my technique and my form. So I was most excited about that, as well as bench. Now, I've experienced shoulder pain for years. I think I started noticing it more in high school when I was lifting in the weight room. So throughout college when I was working out, I was doing bodybuilding style of training and occasionally would try to do more like bench work, and I would feel it a lot in my shoulder. When I lifted with my coach for the first day and he was trying to look at my current form, I tweaked my shoulder. So the first few months of working with him, it was a mixture of trying to fix my deadlift form, work on my squat form, and rehab my shoulder. Rehabbing my shoulder was very frustrating because before that had happened, I felt like my shoulder was okay. I didn't really feel it very much. Sometimes it'd feel a little bit fatigued, but never the way it felt when I tweaked it. When I tweaked it, I would do something as simple as pulling a load of laundry out of the washer and I'd feel a sharp pain and I knew that's a wrap. So what he had me do was lay out on his table and he evaluated if it was external rotation or if it was internal rotation. And he put together a recovery plan, which I did sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the evening. And then I really made sure that before I benched, I was warming up my shoulder with some, what are they called? Cars. Basically putting my arm, like rotating my arm backwards and forwards and using my yoga blocks, laying down on my stomach, kind of going like this, timing it, getting longer and longer and longer. So I was doing that pretty frequently and I was noticing a lot of progress in that area. The exercises that kind of hurt the most were incline exercises. Trying to do an incline press with a barbell, I would feel it in the first rep and it would be just the bar. So for a while, I wasn't doing a straight barbell press. I was using, what do you call it? I call it a football bar. It just has multiple hand placements for your press. I would use one of the angled grips and that would take a lot of pressure off of my shoulder and would put more pressure into my triceps. So for a while, that's all I did. And it was working, okay? We're here now, we're healthy. But during that time, I was pretty frustrated because I felt like I was making progress with my deadlift. I felt like I was making progress with my squat. And benching more than 200 pounds, that wasn't my initial goal at first, but I guess until I started to realize that it could actually happen for me. Before I started working with him, my 1 rep max was a 180. Before I started working with him, my 1 rep max was 180 pounds, but it wasn't a controlled 180 and it wasn't a paused 180. When it comes to powerlifting, benching in particular, when you unrack it, you have to wait for the referee to tell you to lower it. And then when you lower it, you have to wait for the referee to tell you to push it up. The pause at the bottom can be 1 to 2 seconds, and then you push. Before working with my coach, if I play back some of my old benching videos, I'm literally letting the bar drop on me and bouncing it off my chest to push it up. That shit does not fly. So my 180, I don't really count it. So when I started working with him, I was happy to just hit 185, a clean 185. But then as we started working together and I started figuring out that I need to drive with my legs, brace my core, brace my lats, and that would take also pressure off of my shoulder, I was like, dang, I could really do like 205. And then as we continued to work, I was like, shit, I could probably do 225. So my new goal is 225. I just need to work on my diet and work more on my technique and the speed with the bar. Sometimes I still do feel a little bit of shoulder fatigue, but it's mainly because I am still trying to work on unracking the bar by myself. You can have a spotter when you're at a meet, but I would like to work on being able to unrack it at least at like 205 pounds comfortably, the way I would unrack 135. So yeah, during this whole process, I've just been like trying to work on patience, not only with my coach, but mainly with myself, because I get really frustrated when I go into the gym and I have a plan in my head. Based off the program, I'm gonna be able to accomplish all of it and I will be walking out happy. That's not the case a lot of the time. Obviously, being a woman, you have your period and that can affect your mood and your energy levels. And sometimes I walk into the gym and I'm absolutely miserable. And then I look at my program and it pisses me off. And then I try lifting, everything feels heavy, and then I'm even more angry. That's what happened the last time I deadlifted. Everything felt really heavy, slow, I felt sluggish, and it was not a good session. But how you feel about it in the moment doesn't really matter. If you set a goal, you have to stick with the routine that you set in order to reach it. Although some of my lifts might not be at 100%, shit, not even maybe 75%, I still need to show up and complete it. And if you're trying to get into the gym and be more, what's the word? Intentional, I guess, and more serious, you need to get that through your head. Half the time you are not gonna be motivated to go to the gym. I'm not motivated a lot of the time. It's just what I have to do to reach my goal. And I can't really sit there and make excuses all the time. I can't avoid what I need to do just because it's uncomfortable. I have to do the work, and you will have to do the work. My squat is still nowhere near where I'd like it to be or where my coach thought I'd be by now. And yeah, is that disappointing? For sure. Does it bug me every time I go to do my squat days? Most certainly, and I'm trying not to get emotional about it right now because just thinking back to my last squat day, I was really pissed. And, you know, you kind of have to let it go. So trying to let it go, trying to just roll with the punches, take every day as it is, still hard for me, but I think I've gotten better. I've probably said a few lessons learned during this experience, so I hope you've been keeping count. And that's just the lifting process. There's still a lot of learning that you have to do when you actually compete. And that's part of why I got into powerlifting. Besides wanting to make sure that my technique was right, I wanted to work on my anxiety when it came to performing in front of a crowd. So I hadn't competed since high school. Like I mentioned, I was on a track team. I hated the crowds, to be honest with you. And my hands would literally shake like that before I went up there to do what I had to do. In signing up for a competition, I was priming myself for months to be prepared to handle that sort of pressure and that I was gonna have a bunch of eyes on me. I was trying to mentally prepare myself for a possible outcome where I would fail, which I'm me, like, I don't do that. But prime myself for things not going the way I expected, right? So I had my powerlifting meet in the middle of November. My family flew out, we had a great time. They were here to support me. Super grateful that they were able to come out and be there for me. They had never actually seen me lift the way that I do in person. They just see it online, and even talking about my numbers to them, they're like, what the hell? That's so hard to like picture. And then for them to see it in person, they were like, oh my God, you're so strong. So that was fun. But yeah, the meet was really interesting because you have to make sure you have all of your items when you get there. There was the stress of trying to make weigh-ins, and boy, that is a big lesson learned. Oh my God, I don't know how I almost forgot about that. If you're gonna sign up for a competition, please take your diet, your nutrition very seriously. I signed up for the weight class of 165 pounds. Naturally, I've probably been sitting around 175, close sometimes to 180 depending on what I'm eating. For years, whenever I would train, I could lose weight like that, but I didn't take into account my age and also the timing of it all. I thought I'd be chilling. I started dieting, I think only like a week and a half before my meet, which was the dumbest thing you could possibly do, and it will stress you out an unimaginable amount. I was so stressed. I should have started dieting at least a month in advance, and I was just chilling. I was like, you know what? It won't be that big of a deal. Losing all this weight won't be a hard thing to do. I dropped about 10 pounds in a week. I was doing cardio twice a day, hitting the sauna, hitting the steam room. I was still lifting my weights because that's what I had to do to make sure that I was prepared for the competition. And I was barely eating any carbs. Mind you, I was powerlifting. To not eat carbs when you're powerlifting is almost unheard of. You could do that for bodybuilding, you'll look snatched, you'll look really lean. For powerlifting, you need the energy to actually perform well. So I was shitting bricks. I was like, oh my God, am I gonna be able to lift the weights that I need to for my competition? Am I gonna feel tired? I sure as hell don't feel great. I'm hungry all the time. I feel like my sleep isn't that great. I was drinking a crazy amount of water to make sure that I was flushing everything out of my system. When my family got here, they were like, you look like a ghost. You look sick. I said, don't talk to me about looking sick. I feel sick. So yeah, please don't be like me. Doing a crash diet is not healthy, nor is it sustainable. It's going to mess with your body tremendously, and it's also going to mess with your mental in the worst way possible. The only thing I could think about was food. And at the same time, I was constantly thinking about cardio because I knew that I was overweight, over my competition weight. So I was always like, I'm going to be like a hamster on a wheel with a piece of cheese in front of me. And I know that I can't eat until after the competition. Fast forward a little bit to the days right before weigh-ins, I kept weighing myself and I hit 165 or 165.4 a couple of times. And that was without my singlet or socks or sports bra. And I was like, God damn, I'm going to weigh myself with my singlet on and I'm not going to weigh enough. Am I allowed to weigh in completely butt ass naked? Is that an option? Because if it is, that's what I'm going to have to do. And how awkward to stand in front of a fucking stranger ass naked because you didn't diet correctly. And then I was like, oh my God, is my scale accurate? Because if my scale isn't accurate, I'm screwed and I have no idea how much I weigh. All of that is running through my mind. And then I woke up the day of the meet and I weighed in. I was 167.2 on my personal scale. I was furious. Because when we were preparing for the meet, the idea was that if I was overweight, I was going to be able to lift in the heavier weight class, but my lifts would not count. If my lifts didn't count, then at that meet, I would not be able to place, not medal. My lifts wouldn't count towards nationals, and my lifts wouldn't count towards some sort of state record. And that's what we were trying to go for, these larger wins. And I know that sounds like a lot for somebody who only got into the sport fucking 8 months ago. I'm really competitive, okay? If I'm gonna put in this much effort, I'm coming out on top. If I get in second place, like, fine, it is what it is, because I know that I'm competing against people who've been doing this for years, and I'm a noob. But at the same time, I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. So yeah, weighing in, seeing that number, I was really upset. Getting there and weighing in, their scale put me at 169 point something pounds. So I was like, well, shit. Even if I hit my goal of 164.5 on my scale with a singlet, I wasn't going to make weigh-ins with their scale. So I think after weighing myself on their scale, I think that's when I really came to terms with the fact that, like, okay, I'm still gonna have to perform well. It's not what I wanted, it's not what my coach wanted, but we're still gonna have to do this. And after I weighed myself, my coach came to me and he was like, hey, I checked in with them. You know how we were thinking that your lifts wouldn't count? They will. You got bumped up a weight class, they'll count. He was like, I'm so sorry. Because he knew that I was literally starving myself to make weigh-ins. And I think in the moment, like, I was just so tired, I didn't really care. The smallest part of me was like, really? What the fuck? Like, as my coach, you should have known that. I would have stopped trying to diet maybe 3 to 4 days in advance because with the trajectory I was on, I just wasn't gonna hit it. And I was really trying to force it. I've just put on too much muscle over the past 4 years to be able to lose that weight that quickly. It just wasn't gonna happen. Yeah, I was a little frustrated, but I was happier to eat. Let me tell you, we went to the diner. I got myself some pancakes, an omelet, some toast, some bacon. I didn't eat all of it because my stomach was so small at that point. I just physically couldn't, but I was so happy to taste food. Ending a diet like that is so, oh my God. It was like winning the lottery. Yeah, I'm now realizing I didn't really need my laptop after all. But yeah, performed in the meet. Guess what, guys? I placed first in my weight class, the weight class that was heavier. I was going up against girls who were 180 pounds. I was 169 or whatever. I was just really happy with that win. Did I want to win overall? Yes, I did. But I think I came in third. And I only came in third because my squat is so piss poor. They didn't count my third lift, which was 308 pounds. I did finish the lift, but the issue was again, first time, not used to referees telling you when to step forward and re-rack. So I started stepping forward before the referee told me or completed the motion of telling me to step forward. So it was a no lift. I'm not a huge fan of that. I feel like if you have clear control over the bar, you should rack it when you're done with the movement, but hey, I didn't make up the sport, so. whatever. But yeah, my total came out to be 880 pounds, around there. I got all 2 of my 3 attempts for each of my lifts. I did complete my 3rd lift for deadlift, but it just, again, technical reasons, it was no lift. But that experience taught me a lot. I did cry a little bit because I was really upset that I didn't get my last deadlift, because my deadlift was my strongest lift, and I was just disappointed that it was a silly error on my part, because before I started to pull it, I was like, I feel like my feet aren't placed the way I normally place them, but it should be fine. Because I wasn't sure if I was allowed to reset because I'd already touched the bar, and I didn't want to get a no lift because I touched it, let it go, reset up, and then touched it again. But yeah, super grateful that I was able to have the opportunity to do that, have the funds to be able to have a coach, because paying for a coach is not cheap. It's not something that everyone can do. Very grateful for the support, the loving family and friends that I have who are willing to fly out. Okay, my camera died and I don't know where I left off. I think I was saying something about probably trying to tie it back to some sort of lessons learned. It's gonna overheat again. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up. This year, yeah, has been really interesting for me. I'm super grateful for the opportunities to have been able to box and to powerlift. I'm really looking forward to signing up for nationals. Hopefully there are still some spots left, because I have been taking my sweet time in signing up. If I'm not able to secure a spot for nationals, then I'll still be finding some sort of local meet to compete at, because I would like to do it again. Basically rounding up the year of powerlifting, if I want to call it that, and get back into boxing, because I do miss that as a form of cardio, because being on the treadmill is cool, I guess, and all, but I like working on my footwork and my speed, my power, being able to create combinations. That's using a different part of my brain. And when you're on a treadmill just walking for an hour to 2 hours straight, you're basically a zombie. Or at least I am, because I try to listen to podcasts and it's just too slow for me. I try to watch a movie and I feel like time is passing really slow. I just can't do it. But yeah, that's been my year. Hopefully you guys had some sort of positive takeaway from this, and it's not just you listening to me blab for what feels like an eternity. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next Vlogmas episode, and I hope you have a happy, healthy holiday. Bye.